Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. They clean up nicely. It's the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show. Yeah, they clean up nicely. Yeah.
Hi, 69er episodes deep or something like that, and we're still doing the same intro. Isn't that right?
Maybe we'll change it right after 69. Switch positions. Oh, I'm Drew. I'm Drew Pierce from Long Beach, California. And
I am Fusemania from Cincinnati, Ohio, and we are the Drew and Fuse Show.
Thanks for joining us, Daft Punks. Not sponsored by Liquid Death still to this day. 69 episodes in. Well, I don't know that 69.
I don't know. I don't think it's 69. I just said 69 because we're close to some. I just wanted to throw a niner in there.
Oh, there it is. Today we have an amazing guest.
We have a great guest today. Do you want to get right into it? Is there anything you want to bring up right before we bring our guest on?
It's raining here in California, and I think people lose their fucking minds. That's about it.
Well, I would say 90% of people that live in California have already lost their minds. But, yeah, we'll go with that too. It's the rain.
They've lost their minds to all the good weather is what you mean.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you can just take your van and live down by the river,
Be a lot cheaper than what I'm doing currently.
I'm sure. You could be like Drill Bit Taylor. Isn't that Owen Wilson when he's the bum that lives in California?
I got to be honest, I've never seen that movie.
I've only seen it once, so it's probably not that good. It was a long time ago. Random memories accessed. Random access memories.
I forgot I jumped over all of our sponsors, so I guess that's what you meant by that.
We can bring up a little sponsor info real quick. We do have a new affiliate link from our friends over at Club Cannon. The link will be in the description of the podcast and in the video on YouTube. It will save you $25 off any purchase of $250 or more. And that's pretty awesome because he doesn't really give out discounts over there. The product is so good, turns your parties up to 11 that, he doesn't need to give out discounts. But because of our show and because of our great friendship, you guys get $25 off now.
It's a big deal. Sign up, grab that Club Cannon, turn your parties up to 11.
Also, we're sponsored by Briggs Beard Company, and the promo code DAFS will get you 20% off any order off the website. That is a bottle of Briggs Beard Company beard oil right there. No nitroglycerin included. Drops of Jupiter all over his face. Sometimes you have to pay for that if you're into that sort of thing. Also, if you guys haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Use the promo code Drew and Fuse Show to get 30% off your first month of activation at directmusicservice.com. 30% off. Drew and Fuse Show.
Direct Music Service. Load up all those edits over at the directmusicservice.com.
You could still hit up the YOLO line if you haven't. We love hearing drunk voicemails, thoughts about the show, how I have a flock of seagulls haircut today, whatever you want to say. 562-246 YOLO is the phone number, and you can leave us a voicemail and we will play it on air. But just beware that I will be digging up some old photos of you and posting them on the YouTube video when you leave that, that voicemail. So
did you say we were sitting on one? We were sitting on one that you were
You're right. Dang. Bad. Shame on me. We are sitting on one still. I got to get it edited and, dig up the old photos, do some detective work. So anyway, let's get into it today. We've got a great guest for you guys, hailing in from the Boston area. He's the music director and DJs for venues Hava, Icon, and Venue. I don't know if I said that first one right, but we'll find out here in a few. He has been awarded the Boston Music Awards DJ of the Year in 2021. He's won some DJ battles in the area. He's played with a ton of big artists like Chris Brown, Lizzo, Fetty Wap, Wale, Flo Rida, and more. He's big in the Boston scene. Please help us welcome DJ Snax.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you guys for having me. Happy to be here. And I mean, the intros is just great. The sponsorship stuff is great. I'm enamored by you. I'm blown away. The beard looks amazing, Drew. I don't know what to say, to be honest.
What we got to work on is our intro. We're this many episodes deep, and we still don't know how to start the fucking episode. So
Even
one
if
day,
this isn't episode 69, can we just say it is, just to make me happy? Because this is all working out way too well.
maybe we'll have to push
before-
it so that it is episode 69.
And before we get too deep, I was talking to Todd Powers from Connecticut, Alex Neppa from Pennsylvania. Todd says hi, bless his heart. And then Alex says, tell him I said hello, also to fuck off, mostly hello, still a healthy fuck off though. So lots of love coming from all over the country today. Happy to be here.
Well, those two actually are going against each other because Neppa wanted me to ask if you know how old Todd Powers is.
So I just turned 28. And for the longest time, he kept saying, I am twice your age. I don't know if it was to the T. And then when I turned 28, he said, I'm no longer. So I'm going to guess it's either 52 or 54. Do you know?
I don't know.
It's one of the two. I would say it's one of the two.
I probably do. And maybe I just stopped asking or paying attention.
I don't know how old he is, but I think he looks great. And he's got a great shoe collection. And, the genes run in the family. You've seen his son. His son's a handsome boy.
Yeah, so I went to college with Cam, the son.
Okay.
And that's how we actually all got connected. And so that's how I was able to, I think Todd years ago randomly was like in town for his son and came out to where I happened to be playing. And that's kind of how it all started. Then streaming through COVID, like he popped in and then was kind of like, hey, I know you're not working clubs anymore. You want to do weddings with me? And I was like, let's do it. So yeah, great guy.
Yeah, that's how I met you, is through him. And so you're doing, you still do a handful of weddings for them, right? Not as much now that clubs are back.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was definitely filling a void at the time. And I had done a few, I think lower production type weddings, just kind of on my own. And then kind of really seeing what that world was like was really through Todd. And mostly because he's based in Connecticut, most of them were in Connecticut. So they were, a little bit ways away from me, but, he made it worth it. He's a great guy. He treated me super well. And, still to this day, I still do a few now that, again, with my age, so many of my friends are getting married. And so, when they hit me up, we get Todd involved, and I'm getting more stuff out in Boston now. So, we're working with them very closely.
It's nice to have somebody to speak for you for those weddings too. We always talk about how I hate doing the selling and Drew hates doing the selling. So when you got somebody to do it for you, it's the best.
Yeah. And he's done it for longer than I've been alive. So, he just knows it so well. And he very, like, when you hear him talk about it, he just gets so lost in it. And it's great. And, I think, me still being in my 20s and doing the club stuff, like, I'm not as passionate about the wedding world yet, but he makes it, so much more enjoyable, and watching him do it is really a pleasure.
That's awesome. And, it brings something to the table for them as well. I feel, you're still in that fresh scene. So, if somebody's like, oh, I don't even know they're great. They're like, oh, I don't want the traditional wedding DJ. It's like, well, you have something to offer. He has something to offer with you as somebody who's in the clubs all the time,
100%. 100%. Yeah. There's more and more. I want my wedding to be like a club. And then Todd's like, oh, perfect. I have a guy who's literally in the clubs every weekend. And so it does work out in that sense for sure.
I think really the traditional wedding is slowly going away faster and faster to where I don't even know what they're going to look like here in the next 5 years, but they're evolving, they're changing. So let's get rid of that dumb garter. Like, it's the weirdest thing. Let's take off my girl's panties and throw them to the crowd. I never understood that anyway. So all these dumb traditions, like, it's time to kick rocks and move it along.
You mean you don't want to take off a garter in front of mom and dad on both sides of the family?
And then throw it to your homie?
And there's been more and more conversations, right, about like what's harder, like weddings or clubs. And And I think it's because like they're starting to mesh more and more and more, and like the wedding DJ needs to be more of a club DJ, the club DJ needs to be more of a wedding DJ, and it's an interesting conversation. But at the same time, obviously I think the whole production part, right, doing that on your own or with if you have an assistant and whatnot, is way harder. Ceremonies, it's just the pressure. Like for me, it's really the pressure. Like I'd rather, do a show with Fetty Wap than do someone's wedding. You know what I mean? It's way less pressure for me. But then again, I was talking to my other DJ homies, and I was like, how many songs from the last 10 years do you really play at a wedding, like wedding to wedding, versus like the classic stuff that came out maybe 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago, versus the club? It's got to be new shit every week. You got to be fresh. You got to like know what that new poppin' song is. So it's like, what's harder is really just depending on the individual, right?
Well, weddings, I do a lot of weddings, but I still do clubs. And weddings, once you get down the formula of, the
Right.
hurry up and wait and get down all the prep work, they're really fucking easy. You just have to be prepared and know how to prep yourself correctly. The clubs, same thing. I mean, being up on music, it's just you're prepping in a different way. So the people that say the weddings are harder are just not doing them, and so you get thrust into this high pressure thing, and you have to perform out the gate. So it feels like it's a lot because it is a high stakes thing, but just as much as a Fetty Wap concert, really, if you haven't ever opened for someone, think about the first time you opened for, or you played with a headlining person. You were probably stressed the fuck out, right?
Oh yeah. And these celebrities are so unpredictable. Like they're supposed to show up at 12:30 and they show up at 1:30 and they came with
music.
all this extra shit, no music. So I always ask them, like, are they coming with a DJ? Like, are they coming with their own guy, or do I have to be fully prepped? I don't know. Who knows? Awesome. I'm gonna have everything they've ever touched.
Yeah,
ever.
you're on iTunes buying every album.
Yeah, yeah.
I've had to do that where it's like, well, we don't know if they're bringing somebody. We don't know what's going on. So now let me just go on iTunes, and now I have every album they've ever created.
Yeah, exactly. We did Neo just dropped an album this past year, and we did one of his album release parties. And the thing with Neo is like, he's such a R&B icon, right? So many classics. He had like 3 platinum albums in a row. But at the end of the day, the kind of where he is in his musical career, like people want his older stuff. Like it just is. His new album was great. Listened to it a million times, had every record on it. But when we were playing the newer stuff, the crowd was like, okay, like they haven't heard it yet. It just dropped. You play So Sick, place goes nuts. And, so we ended up in the show kind of taking a right turn and being like, he kind of looked at me, I looked at him, and I was just like, older stuff? And he was just like with it. As long as the crowd was with him, you know what I mean? And it just kind of changed the show compared to what we were planning for it.
So were you just dropping tracks and he was just going along with it, or was he calling them out?
He wanted to start with one of the single of his new album. But again, and people were excited to see him. It was the first song he did. He just touched the microphone, just welcomed everybody. But you know how crowds are. If they don't know the song, they will shut down and just start like staring at you. You know what I mean? And so I kind of, again, with all of his music, all in BPM order, I was able to like do a medley of his, just chorus to chorus or like bridge to bridge. And obviously he knows his own music. So it was just like record on record, new to old, the features, whatever. And I think it worked really well in that sense for the crowd, that like they knew every record and they were kind of, if they're singing his music, his ego's going to be filled. He's going to be happy. So again, there was a point where he kind of just like was like, you know what, this guy knows what he's doing, and it made for a good party, and it worked out.
I know you have your own podcast, and you actually had Neo on, right? Is that
yeah.
Did you get him on because you did that show and then he came on, or was this all set up from that whole show?
Yeah, it was a match made in heaven. So we did the interview. So it was the same night as the album release party. Venue and Icon, those two of the venues you mentioned, Fuse, they're like connected to each other. They're literally
okay. And that's where I saw you, right?
Yeah, you saw me at Icon. So the interview was done at Venue, which was, the party was on like a Tuesday or something. It was like a random day of the week because he was just in town. And so Venue was wide open. So we did the interview in the middle of the nightclub. It was sick. Like we did the full lights and the full mic stuff. But the funny thing is, because it was right next door to Icon, where the opener was doing the party, like if you listen back to the show, you just feel like of just like the party that's actually happening next door. And we're like, every so often we're like, oh shit, like the party's really rocking. They're ready for you. So we finished the interview. Literally, everyone got up, and then we went straight to like the back door into the thing. And honestly, for us as the hosts, it was our first moment of like you walk into a room and there's like flash, like everyone's like camera phones flash. It wasn't for us because we were just like right behind Neo.
No, it was. Come on, what are you saying?
But it was the first time where like you walk in a room and all the girls started screaming and there's the camera phones on and we're like, oh my god, this is what it's like to be famous. Oh my god. And then I remember Fingers, one of my co-hosts, grabs the mic. If you're ready for Neo, and it was just like this whole roar. It was nuts.
That's awesome.
That's how it was able to happen. It was like the show or the interview right into the show. Like it was awesome.
One of the things I wanted to say and circle back around was I was listening to your show, a couple different episodes, and I was at the gym the other day, and I was listening to the one, it was around Halloween, and you guys were talking about booking open format DJs and like how you got to stay open format and like you can't be a house DJ that's like, oh yeah, I'll play. And then it was like 70s and 80s twerk music or something like the guy said.
Oh,
or
yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And I was cracking up like about that.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to say is, back to the weddings and the clubs, I feel like more recently, in the last year or two, the music just hasn't been as fresh and like hasn't been as hitting as it was 5 or 6 years ago. So I feel like at the clubs still I'm playing a lot of like older stuff. Just circling back around on this conversation, weddings and the clubs, like you were saying, how they're kind of meshing more. It's like if you are just a really good open format DJ and can read the room, chances are you can go into the wedding and crush that room too. You just have to learn the proper mic skills and all of that. So I'm sure you're up there crushing weddings and all of that as well.
It's definitely a different bag. And first of all, weddings has made my bag so deep. Like just the random songs, like whether it's just like, the first dance or like what they want to come out to, like, you have the random, like I had a Game of Thrones themed wedding. So it was all this like random shit I would have like never had before. You know what I mean? So now the bag is just like nuts. And I encourage DJs, like young DJs, I'm like, yo, honestly start doing some weddings because it'll just force you to have these things, their requests and whatnot, that stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise had. And then bringing it back to, again, the clubs. Now, I mean, Fuse, what you were saying about newer music, the newer music that is sticking and that you might end up finding in your sets are really just, you think like Dua Lipa, who does pretty much like a disco album. Same with The Weeknd, does like a disco album, and Beyonce's new album where it's like very housey, very like 80s, 90s house, some disco stuff in there, So it's really just like, that's the music that's really sticking, without sounding like such an old head. Like there's a reason why they keep revisiting it, and then that's the stuff that's sticking. So it's music's definitely in a weird place. And I know DJ Cass from Miami was talking about this. He's a big Twitter guy, and he was saying like in Miami he's playing, as far as like trap music, like mostly like 2015 stuff, DJ Mustard stuff, like the Migos stuff, because that's just at that time that's what golden age trap music is. And that's the stuff that no matter who you are, white, black, young, old, Miami being such a touristy city, that's the stuff that's always going to work, always going to hit no matter what. And I find that to be true in Boston as well.
Same here. I mean, it's the exact same. That's like the staple of the hip hop stuff that I'm playing right now. And it's like, with some of the new stuff mixed in, just to show that like, you're like, hey, I'm on top of this, I know what's
surrounding it with familiarity is really the key, because when playing with the attention span of the younger kids, and then, you still have, Fingers from the show, called them the Trap or Die crowd, where like we have like all our like drug dealer money like on the VIPs and stuff. They're into, because they listen to is locker room music. They listen to Young Dolph and Key Glock and shit. You want to make sure you're touching that too, but being able to balance the two, the older stuff, the newer stuff, the trap stuff, the underground stuff, the stuff you listen to in your car, like the familiarity and the balance is so key. And that's the thing you can't really teach about with DJing. You know what I mean? You can teach the technical stuff, but being able to have that brain to understand programming your set, programming the night, controlling the crowd is like this thing you really can't teach. You just got to really like see it, understand it, and hopefully it starts to stick on you.
Programming and controlling is the hardest. It's impossible to teach. You just have to really immerse yourself in the club or immerse yourself wherever you're going to play so that you get it.
And we just, Drew and I, when we were out at DJ Collective in Nashville, we hosted a panel on programming. And I think a lot of guys wanted to come into that panel and get all the answers right away. And I think they didn't take the key thing, which was the bigger info of the whole thing, which was that if you learn to program and program well, it opens up so many more doors. And, you know, programming is one of those things that I really agree with you. It's like, it's not taught, it's just learned from experience. And one of the things that I can say that happened to me early on when I was DJing is I got booked to play this restaurant dinner party, and I think I was like 21 or 22, and I think I've told this story maybe on the show before, but real quick, I'll just say it again, is like I was up there playing like it was spring break, and I had no idea that, like, you know, it was just you know, they wanted the vibe. And from that gig on, it like changed my perspective on, you know, at that point, I really didn't have any like DJ mentors or anything either. I was still very young into it. And it was like, oh, there's this whole other side to this that, you know, and and I think taking gigs when you're young and just taking all the different gigs will help you learn that as well.
Yeah, what I talk about with my young bulls here in Boston and the guys I'm mentoring with and stuff, like, everyone thinks they deserve every gig, right? From the beginning. And
that's just DJs in general, man.
Dude, yeah, we're all God's gift to earth. We're all the best and most talented. We all have the X factor that's different than everybody else, and I get it. And I tell these young guys, I'm like, don't be discouraged if you're not getting that gig that you want. You know, we all can remember that gig when we were younger. That was like, damn, I want to be on that stage. That's the shit I want. But there's a reason you're not there yet. And the big thing is, you might be just as good technically or the hottest new dude, but there is a big difference between the DJ who's been DJing for 2 years and 10 years. That you can't you can't touch it. It's intangible. You know what I mean? And exactly what you're saying, Fuse, the experience of you doing a bad gig or a slow gig or an empty gig or an older person gig, where you start developing this bag and this understanding of that programming, that now when it comes to this big show where it could be people from all over the country, all over the world or whatever, we need someone that has clearly been experienced to handle that and have a bag that's deep enough for that. I'm sorry, but if you're 2 years in, there's just no way. Even if you're half, I don't know, like you came out of Jazzy Jeff's left nut, like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? You have to just experience it. And that's like what I try and tell a lot of these younger guys. You know, it's just be patient and just take as much work as you can to get that experience sooner.
There's guys that are 10 years in that I feel like still don't get it. And I'm sure you've experienced that, and Drew, you've experienced that too.
Yeah, you only know, well, the younger guys, you only know what you know, right? You're not willing to play something. I've always seen it as the problem is you're too stuck in what you like, right? And you're not playing to the crowd, the younger guys. And once you're able to take yourself out of the equation and be part of the room is when I think you can really take off.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, like, I'd say at least 75% of the music I play I don't like. Or like, I remember I was in the car with some girl that I was like hanging out with, and she's like, why the hell are you listening to this? I forgot what I was playing. I was probably playing some like 80s like rock or something. And I was like, do you think I listen to Mo Bamba like while I'm in my car alone? Like, that's like that just makes no sense. I'm like, I don't listen to club music like all the time. I'm not crazy. You know, this is stuff I like to vibe to, and I'm hanging out, like, whatever. If you don't like it, then maybe I don't like you. I don't know.
Mo Bamba, just while you're cruising.
I've listened to I had an hour drive. I listened to Mo Bamba on repeat for the entire hour drive.
What's wrong with you? Yeah. I always think of like someone who's like sitting on a train, and you're like, you know, they're just sitting there, and imagine like in the headphones just Mo Bamba over and over and over and over.
You see them like on that one part while out there, like,
oh man, that's amazing.
Well, we know we don't have you for a long time, and we want to jump into a couple things here. So let's hit them with some rapid fire.
All right, so we're gonna play this segment video real quick, and we will get into some rapid fire. Here we go.
Cool.
Well, hey there, it's Dolly, and I must say it takes a lot of money to look as cheap as Drew and Fuse. Well, they do clean up nicely though. Speaking of cleaning up nicely, why don't we get into some rapid fire? Today's guest, how nicely do you clean up?
All right. right. There's Dolly introducing
Love
the
it.
rapid fire segment. Okay, real quick, we got a bunch of questions, like Drew said, and we know we're limited on time, but we'll try to burn through these. Sometimes it ends up not being so quick, but we'll start with the first one. And if you had to pick one song as your theme song, and you're coming out of the entering the wrestling ring, what's your theme song?
Wait, let's pretend that moment with Neo was your moment, right? What's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
song that's popping right there for that?
Yeah,
Neo
that's good. It sucks because like he's under so much bullshit right now, but "Can't Tell Me Nothing" by Kanye comes to mind. Where it's just like that la la, and then it goes in. Obviously, he's just in a ton of fire, but I mean, as a rapid fire answer, that's the answer that comes to mind.
All right, I like it.
Every time I hear that song, I can't think of that clip from the first Hangover where they're like driving to Vegas.
Yeah. Dude, it's
that
such a
song
moment.
comes in. I know. It's so amazing too. It's such a good placement.
Dude, it's that song always resets a room for me. Like no matter what BPM I'm on, and I just stop in, just start to la la. Everyone goes crazy.
Have you seen the video with Zach Galifianakis, and he's on a tractor for that? And
I think so. Yeah.
I thought it was the real video, but he's on a tractor.
Yeah.
I think he has his shirt off, and he's just kind of doing the whole bit. It's pretty amazing.
That's amazing. And this might be a little controversial, and are you playing Kanye still? Do you find that people are?
Yeah. I think I was definitely playing more. Like now I'm really like now I probably would play only that, and like if I play like Paris or Birthday Song, like I'll play his verse because like I think those are just the songs like that most people they're so good that most people won't care about. But I can't play like a deep cut anymore. Like if I play like Runaway, which isn't really a deep cut, but that's like a song that like you're kind of making a moment out of, or like if you want to go play like All Falls Down or something.
Totally.
Like, I'm like because you don't have to play that song. You know what I mean? So I think I'm avoiding those, but the songs were like again resetting the room or Birthday Song. I'm not gonna play Birthday Song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I felt myself really trying to avoid it, and I feel like this last weekend I played a couple again just to kind of see like if I was gonna get any like hate from anybody. Like it's such a big catalog of music for like the clubs, and I know DJs can be like, well, like there's so much other stuff out there to play, and like I get that, but at the same time, like I don't know, it's such a weird thing. And
and how deep do you go? Because he's also one of the best producers, like hip hop producers of all time. So is it anything that he's touched, like anyone that he's worked with, and then people you can
the features alone, like American Boy, he's on the very beginning of that track. Do you stop playing that, and it's like 3 lines, and then it goes into the rest of it,
Right.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
tough.
I played, if you include like features, production, I was playing a lot of Kanye, a lot.
It's hard not to, and then there's the lines, right? Like now the new thing is like Tory Lanez. Like, do you play Tory Lanez? And he's someone that was way easier for me to stop playing because as big of an artist as he is, like he doesn't have the classic, Mount Rushmore kind of energy that Kanye has, and not nearly the catalog. And then for me, it was also really easy to not play R. Kelly because he's more R&B. But take away everything that's happened, he is the best male R&B artist of all time. But at a club, it's easy to not play him. So Kanye making so many bangers.
I stopped playing all R. Kelly right at I deleted it all. I have a daughter and I have morals. But then I was doing this party, and the guy that for New Year's Eve, and he was paying me well, and he's like, you got to play or what is it? The
Pump and Grind or Ignition?
No, the Reignition. This is how much I've like blocked R. Kelly from my mind. He's like, hey, you got to play Ignition. I was like, word? You think they'll go for that? And he goes, fuck them. And I was like, you're paying me. And I had to, I didn't even have it on the laptop. I had to download it, and I threw it, and all the girls looked at me with the ugliest face. And I just had to like walk away, like it was fucking awkward. It was really awkward.
That sounds awful.
That sucks. Yeah. The Ignition is like, I feel like for me with R. Kelly, there was only a few songs that hit really with the younger crowds that I'm mostly playing to, and Ignition was really it. So to like stop playing that was like
way easier. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
But okay, so scenario, you're in the club, the energy's starting to die, the floor, people are leaving the floor to go grab some drinks. What's the song you play to bring them back?
Ooh, I think I really love the 100 BPM pocket as far as like at least getting like I know younger women going, and like I think of a song like Rude Boy even by Rihanna. Like it's just one of those like really well-known songs that is sexy and like it makes girls just like want to dance, whether it's with each other, with a guy, whatever. So that's a song that comes to mind. Party Animal, like something that's very familiar. Sexy Vibes, Happy, like these are songs that just sound happy. There's no way you can play it on the radio next, like while your mom's cooking and she's gonna dance to it, kind of thing. So I think like a Caribbean mainstream, again, like a Rude Boy, Party Animal, something like that comes to mind if I really want to get things going again.
Awesome. Love that answer. A left turn song that you like to play.
The big one for me, and I said this on my show a lot. It's not a left, so much of a left, but I think it's just like the unexpected, right? I love unexpectedness, and I think what I say a lot is like, a good DJ plays what you want to hear. A great DJ plays what you didn't know you wanted to hear. And I know for New Year's that just happened, two of the songs were Since You've Been Gone by Kelly Clarkson and We Are Young by Fun. Two songs that everyone knows. You know it. Yeah. You don't even know. You might not even know what it's called, but you know it. And We Are Young reset the room. Like it was because it has that very kind of low key. It's just like a guitar and a kick drum to start it. But then once people start like the door closes and it feels like falling down, everyone's kind of looking at their best friend, whatever. Tonight, like whole vibe. Since
was this at midnight or?
Yeah. It was. I usually do it later in the night. Kind of again, the right turns will be. Left turns rather will be like later in the night where like I know I've had them in my hand for a long time and they trust me where I can kind of do whatever I want, and I'm heavy on the mic kind of thing where it's like if you're not with me then you're not with any of us at this point. That's the way I kind of approach at least my club sets. Like everyone else is with me, you're the one that's not getting it, you know what I mean? And so that's when I reach that point, that's when I can start playing. Like again, at one point it was a Runaway by Kanye at some point, and right now I'm toying around with songs like that. Since You've Been Gone, like fucking rang, dude. And I had this like acapella version of it too that I put under it and shit. So like people are just fully singing. And I think there's songs like that where, again, I deal with some of like my quote unquote drug dealer trap crowds, and they're like, yo, this shit's whack. Like this shit isn't like what I listen to at the gym or my car or whatever. That's not what we do. And I'm just like, dude, this is music, man. Like you're not getting it. Like music, it being an art form, right? It's not meant to be like categorized by what you do or what you represent. It's really just like taste and how you interpret art. And so when like how are there parties that don't have these songs that are good and it will always be good, right? Like a song like Since You've Been Gone, it's one of the most iconic pop songs of all time for a reason, and it always will be. Why? Just because it's old, we shouldn't be playing it? You know what I mean? Like, why? That makes no sense to me. If it's good music, the club should be playing it, right? But for some reason, there's things have, this point where, it's whack. Is it, or you just like, you think it's cool to say that it's whack?
I love that. I love that thing that you just said of, if you're not with me, then it's you, right? Everybody else is with me, then it's fucking you. And I like that a lot. Because I also like that to reference back where we were talking about, we did that class and that little thing on programming. The guys were in there like with their notepads, like, okay, well, what's the answer? When do I do it? Right? Well, that answer doesn't exist because you're the one that's creating it. You're the one that's like, okay, well, I've had them so long, I can do whatever the fuck I want right now. And I know this is going to work. And so here's to sound different in this bit, that they're just going to come with me because everybody's with me at this point. So it's just knowing your crowd and knowing your music and knowing how far you can push people.
Totally.
And if you surround it with the right mic work, and if the song before it and the song after it match it, and like, you know what I mean? If you do it right, like there are just ways to do it, but it depends on your style, depends on the crowd, XYZ. So again, there's not that final answer to all be all.
So when this happens, that's exactly when I do it. Perfect. Okay.
And if you're playing a club that's 250, 300, even larger, it's like, well, not every song is for you, bro. There's a lot of other people in here, and I'm trying to hit, all these these things, and I'm trying to break it up a little bit, and it's just one of those things. It's like I had this guy on Friday come up to me like, yo, play Young Dolph, and it's like, bro, I'm at a bar that's called Fishbowl right now. We're selling fish bowls. It's full of 20-year-old girls, and I'm playing like Kesha and Bulletproof and like all this stuff,
and those
and
are
it's like,
ringing.
yeah, they're going off, and it's like it's like you're in the wrong place right now, my man. Like, just look around, like,
Exactly. Yeah. I on Fridays at Hava, you did pronounce it right. At Hava, it's like one of the only like trap hip hop nights in Boston, like in the downtown area. And one day I had this young, probably freshly 21 white girl comes up to me and she's like, yo, can you play? I forgot what song it was, but it was like an Avicii song or something like that. And I was like, yo, you are at like the biggest hip hop night in the city. Like you are. I don't know if you got dragged out here. I don't know what it is, but like I can't. Like I literally cannot do it. Like it would be against like what we're trying to promote and develop here. You know what I mean? So, and then they just don't get that part.
Well, let's keep pushing because we want to get some music here.
How did you get your DJ name?
Oh yeah, it's funny because I was just talking to a younger DJ about this because I think they were trying to figure out their name or whatever, and the whole DJ name, because I told him, I was like, I have one of the worst DJ names in the world, but what really matters is what the name represents, right? What's behind the name? Because if I go up to either of you guys on the street, say, yo, I'm trying to give out my mixtape, like I'm a rapper, really trying to make it out here, and you're like, oh cool, like I'll check it out, like what's your name? And I'm like 50 Cent. And you're like 50 fucking cent. What the hell? Like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Oh my God, I got shot 9 times, and I'm about to make this movie, and my first debut album is gonna go a million times platinum. I'm gonna own something called Vitamin Water. Now you're like, oh, 50 Cent's the fucking man, and people do that. People don't blink at 50 Cent anymore. Skrillex a good name, right? And so I think
I always say that with metal, with Korn. I mean, Korn's the worst name on the planet, dude. But they spell it with a K and flip the
backwards.
R. Yeah.
Yeah. The Doors.
Or whatever.
Right. Yeah. What you make of it.
Yeah, and so with all that being said, it was a name I got in college when I had no name. I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't start drinking until second semester of my freshman year of college. So I went through like all of high school and like the whole first semester without drinking. And so like when I was DJing, like since I would just be in like a corner, like I started bringing like gummy bears and like Doritos and like just because I was just like hanging out like alone, like no one was paying attention to me. And like when you're like, stone cold sober 4 hours, no one's paying attention, you kind of get like bored. Like I'm just like, okay, we'll just be chilling and shit, Arizona iced tea, whatever. And drunk girls, once they get eye of that, they start wanting your food because they get hungry and shit. So then it just became like this thing where like they never knew my name or anything. They just knew that I always had food on me because I'm just the fat boy in the corner. And then it kind of just like became a thing. They would call me it, whatever. And then I remember and this was just like college parties, like dorm parties and shit like that. I was really cool with. I went to a D1 football school, and I was really cool with one of the seniors. He wasn't a football player himself, but he was just cool enough to be roomies with a bunch of the football players. And he was like, yo, we throw these parties. You're a freshman, we're seniors. Like, you can rock with us if you like DJ our parties. And so that's kind of like how I got involved with that. Didn't have a name. When I finally got my first like venue gig, it was like, a local bar, college bar. I remember they had on the flyer, DJ, my first name and my last name. And I was like, and I don't have a name like you do or like anything that's cool. Like I'm a first generation Central American. Like I don't got a cool name. So I was like, yo, this can't be it. And then I was just like, well, people know me by this. I'll use this. And I remember the thing I said was like, I will change it later. And then everything happened. And then everything happened way too fast. Yeah, it became a thing, and now here we are.
I love it. I think it's great.
I think it's great too. I like it. Yeah. I only went with my first and last name because I couldn't think of anything. And finally I was like, you know what? Shit's starting to take off and I can't think of a name, so fuck it. And in our market, one of the biggest radio guys is DJ Drew. He's on Kiss FM. He's like the big radio station. And so I couldn't just go by DJ Drew, even though that's what everyone called me. So that's why I had to use my first and last. So
yeah, I wish I had a cool name. Like there's a dude out here in Boston, Ryan Nichols, super smooth. I wish I had 2 first names like Ricky Bobby. Like it would be sick, but
Snax is a good name, man. I like it. It's
appreciate it.
And it stands out. It's great.
Appreciate you guys.
we got a couple more questions for you. One, where would you take us to eat in Boston that we can only get in Boston?
Ooh, so I mean, obviously, people are gonna, go to the North End, Little Italy, which is cool. It's riddled with college kids and stuff now. It's just because it's nearby a bunch of the schools, so like I kind of avoid it. Um, there's a lot of good Asian fusion in Boston that's really underrated, I think. Where I live in between BU and BC, and there's just this huge Korean population here, just like right here. My Uber Eats is insane. So I would take you to a few of these. There's this place called Coreano's that's Latin and Asian fusion. So you can get like a kimchi chicken quesadilla, and it's like unreal.
Sounds
Yeah, you know what I mean. And then there's this other spot that I'll take you called Double Chin. It's called Double Chin for good reason.
I'm writing all these down, by the way, because next time I'm in Boston, this is where I'm asking to go.
Yeah. Double Chin. So Double Chin is right off of the strip of where all those clubs are, Drew.
Yeah,
where you saw me. So it's right there. And their drinks are amazing. I think every drink has lychee in it, so they all taste great. And they do fried rice. They do like this take on a French toast. Like it's just a lot of comfort food, fire, Asian fusion. So Double Chin and Coreano's is probably where I would take you guys.
All right,
Awesome.
I like that because it's different than the standard lobster roll or any of that. So
yeah. I mean, like I've lived in Boston my whole life, and there's like the cliches, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, like lobster roll or somewhere to get like Italian North End or whatever. So
I don't like Italian food. So I like pizza's about the only Italian I like.
yeah, I mean it's I can only eat so much like pasta and stuff. Pizza I can can't get enough of, but if you go to an Italian restaurant and get pizza, people are like, "The fuck are you here for?" You know what I mean?
Well, screw both y'all. I'll take all your pasta. All right. Well, a couple more questions. One being, what's your favorite one-word non-curse word? So if you're gonna call somebody something and it's not a curse word, what would it be?
Wow, this is a good question. I'm writing these all down for future dates, by the way, because this is great. Wow. I'm trying to not say something stupid because I say dude a lot, but that's a stupid one.
That's an adjective here in California.
Yeah. Oh, damn, this is good. Trying to think of like what my friends and I like all call each other. But it's all horrible words. Yeah, one of my really good friends, one of my co-hosts on the show, Cami V, is super Italian, and so obviously when we're around him, gabagool is a big word. So I'm gonna put in gabagool.
Gabagool.
Gabagool. We have not had that. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna put that in. Shout out Cami V. Shout out the podcast, but I know the DJ, so shout out the boys, and I'm sure they're gonna be listening. So gabagool is gonna be my answer.
Gabagool.
Awesome.
I like it. Take it.
All right, and last rapid fire question that hasn't been so rapid fire is we want to hear a funny or crazy DJ story, night that was super memorable.
Yeah. I think for better or for worse, I DJ 2 Antonio Brown shows, which I could just leave it at that and like answer the question. But the second time, the thing is, he's really nice. Like when he's like not influenced by like what's around him, he's a very nice guy. And the second time he like remembered me, oh, what's up, man? Like whatever. And he only dropped one album both times. So like I was like, the second time around I had his music, he hasn't dropped anything new that I knew of. And so he does put that shit on 8 times. Goes run it back. And after the 5th time, I was like, all right, this is kind of losing the crowd here, but he's just so into it, and he's Antonio Brown that like he doesn't fucking care. And so I remember being like, oh, and like some people, all the girls leaving. All the girls are leaving. And I'm like, oh, and that's the thing, like I have to DJ after him too. Like he's like kind of in the third quarter, the beginning of like the third quarter of the night. And I'm like, oh God, he's like setting me up for failure, blah, 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 blah. And then on the mic, I got this new unreleased shit. DJ, play that. And I'm like, dude, you just said it's unreleased. No one has it. Like I don't have it. How do you expect me to have it? And so Ado, the promoter, I'm like kind of freaking. I'm like, bro, he just says unreleased. What do you want me to do? How the fuck am I supposed to have it? And I'm Googling it. Like he like mentioned what it was called. And I'm Googling it and I'm trying to find it, whatever. And it doesn't exist on the internet. He probably just cut it yesterday. But it's again, but Antonio Brown, this is like how he works, you know?
Yeah.
And so his boy comes up to me, yo, you don't got the record? Bro, do you have the record? Like, you know what I mean? and so now I'm getting angry. Like now I'm just because everyone's looking at me being like, yo, DJ, what the fuck? And so I'm in the meantime, I'm playing like one of his other records that we haven't touched yet. And he's not understanding that I'm trying to like make it not look like we don't know what we're doing. And he goes, no, that's not the right record, DJ, stop. And I'm like, bro, I'm like, please, let me figure this out. And so finally, I think his manager comes in. I'm like, yo, do you have the record? And he's like, yeah, airdrops it to me. We figure it out, blah, 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 blah. So before like 5 minutes, and 5 minutes in a situation like that feels like 5 days.
Yeah.
I'm like, I start like, and still like that, I try and be as calm and understanding. Like these guys get, they're celebrities. Like life is very different for them. But I was like, dude, like you're making this way harder for me. Like being like, come on, DJ, like let's play. Like the people want it. No, they don't. They don't know it yet. No one has it. And again, it would. I think it would also be different if it was like anyone but Antonio Brown. And so it was just like a lot. And luckily once it was played, like he was good, everyone was good. But there was a second where I was just like, okay. I was like, and then actually the day after that we had him on the show, our show, and doesn't make any sense. Like there were just times where we and Cam would look at each other and we're like, we don't know what he's talking about, but we're just gonna let him talk. Like he just these rants, like rambling, words don't make sense, and we're just like, I don't know. Yeah. So Antonio Brown, my crazy story, probably forever will be.
That none of that is shocking, but all of it is amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's like what else could I have expected?
That is awesome. Love getting to hear stories like that from all the guests we bring on. Well, we're gonna play this. We're gonna play a video segment real quick, and then we'll get into it.
Please do.
Hey, Drew and Fuse, Kermit the Frog here. When I'm not dealing with my pain in the ass wife, Miss Piggy, I like to talk and sing with my friends. What's your top songs? A new personal favorite of mine is this. It's the Drew and Fuse Show, the Drew and Fuse Show, and they clean up nicely, because usually they look like shit. Yay!
All right, there's Kermit reeling in our top 5.
Those are so great. I love these transitions and these intros and stuff.
Keep you on your toes.
I love it. So I got my top 5 most played. I'm actually surprised. This is my first time looking at this actually. So the first one is actually My Type by Sweetie, which is wild. Which I like. I mean, now I think about it, I think I played at every gig that isn't a wedding.
I played at wedding.
It's not that wild. That song's like been out. The top play didn't even start until it's been like a year and a half, 2 years.
True.
So that's not that
true.
wild.
Yeah, I mean it has 295 plays. So I played almost an entire year's worth. Under that I have Coca-Cola Shape, so that Sexy Body remix, so throwback dancehall, which again I think transcends really any crowd. Under that, Crazy in Love, Beyonce and Jay-Z, weddings included, really can play it anywhere. And I always skip to the bridge. On our show we talk a lot about bridges in songs. Yeah. And how when in as far as DJs, right, we always thinking about, we go to drop into whatever, if it starts with the chorus or the verse, and then it's like a chorus or two. But rarely do we get to the bridge, and especially in these 2000s hits, you know what I mean? So that got me looking so crazy. Women love that part, but so many DJs skip it.
So you know what's crazy? Not crazy at all. What I've been doing is I've been making my own personal edits where it's chorus, bridge, and chorus. So like with the Whitney Houston one, I want to dance with somebody, it's chorus into the blah 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 into the chorus, and then it's just out. And so I might revisit that Crazy in Love and do a hook hook bridge.
I have one, so I might just send it to you.
All right. Lace me up.
I've been playing Umbrella lately by Rihanna, and for the longest time I wasn't playing the bridge, and that's like the part that you can run it. Like, that's
yeah. Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, like I know Fancy by Drake too, like the Atlanta girls, let me see your hands, wave them at the bitches hanging on me. Like that's just a part that no one plays. But again, if when you DJs listening, if you want to start standing out, playing bridges, going straight into bridges, like that'll help you out a lot. And then I have Fucking Problems, A$AP Rocky under that. And then I have Tell You Say by Vibes Cartel under that. I think that makes the top 5 right there, which is a huge classic dancehall record. In Boston, we have a huge dancehall Caribbean population. So like, if you're not touching dancehall in Boston, it's you're missing something or you're not there yet. And then there's some gigs I do where it's like very heavy, dancehall Afrobeats crowd where like that's all we're playing. Until You Say is one of those like you have to play records. And I think this is I kind of came up in the dancehall world too. So like this is I'm sure I don't know if, again, you said it was started counting plays just a couple of years ago, but this has a really high count, higher than I thought it would be actually.
I found a bug in the Serato. If you're using mixed in key and you put it in, mixed in key actually throws the adds in a count, even if there is none.
Really?
Yeah. So like I'll have files that I just downloaded that had nothing in there. They'll say 1089 just out of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
So
Nice.
sometimes it's a little off, but for the most part, that's awesome. I love me some, Caribbean dance hall. That's my shit. I love that.
Yeah.
So are you mixing a lot of reggaeton in with that, or just keep it more of a dance hall? Do you have a reggaeton crowd out in Boston?
Yeah. We actually just started. Me and my homies just started a new reggaeton night at the back of Hava. So Hava has a back room that holds like 120 people max, which is too small for most promoters to want to take on because there's just not enough money to be made off of like 120 person room like that. So it was just like this vacant room, and then we were like, yo, we have this dope hip hop night that we have in the main room. And two of my homies, shout out DJ Hills, DJ Rue, they're huge in the Latin scene right now. Young Bulls Hungry. I'm Latino, and so we kind of came together and made this Latin room. And Latin in Boston especially is just the resurgence is amazing. There's so many Latinos out here looking to party. A lot of like Latin specific nights happening. I've been traveling to do Latin parties around the country now. Like it's just becoming such a big thing.
Right.
But I will say that if you have an actual like Jamaican Caribbean dancehall crowd, they don't really want to hear reggaeton. Like it's because it's just like a weird thing where like they're musically they're so similar, right? Reggaeton came from reggae, but they want their own shit, and rightfully so. They want to hear their own shit and like, what they know and what they're comfortable with. But I think when you start going to like a more mainstream crowd is where you can start going in between the two.
Yeah, makes sense. And I with all the colleges you have there, of course, I'm sure there's tons of people that are just coming from all over the country, and so I can see why it's popular.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about Boston for sure.
What's your typical week look like?
Yeah. So right now we're in the slow season, with the kids being gone, like Boston being such a university strong city. But on a like a normal week, it's gonna be Thursday to Saturday at least, and then probably given a Sunday either day party and or night party. In the summer, day parties galore. Like I'm doing 2 to 3 gigs, like Saturday and Sunday. But definitely minimum Thursday to Saturday.
Awesome.
Well, let's continue with music segment and you said, what's the top 5 that you're playing in the club? What's the hot shit right now?
For sure. I mean, Just Wanna Rock, I think everyone knows as far as like a younger crowd. It's just like they hear it and go insane. It's interesting because it is at the end of the day like a Jersey Philly club beat, and the words, like he's not really saying anything. Like it's just such an interesting song, but it has so much to say about just energy, right? You feel the energy of the song. The music video kind of told everyone, hey, when this song drops, this is what you do. So I think that's a really interesting song. Buy You a Drink, always buy you a drink. If you're train wrecking, it's funny. Cody Ko, who's this big YouTuber, came out with this. I think you guys might have talked about or saw it. This video about how easy it is to become a DJ, and he had like Dylan Francis on it, and Dylan Francis gave him advice. He goes, "If you're train wrecking, just play "Buy You a Drink" by T-Pain, and it will work."
Well, that dates back a little bit because I do follow Dylan Francis, and he had this bit where I guess he was I don't know if it was like a reel or something, but he was saying he was on a podcast and he was saying how drunk he was, and he just jumped on the mic and was like T-Pain and threw it in, buy you a drink, and it didn't beat match or go with anything, and he just threw it in, and it just total train wreck. So, but he said the whole place started going fucking crazy, even though he train wrecked the shit out of it.
It's one of those records, man, and trust me, like again, DJs, if you need something to get to save you, buy you a drink is gonna be it.
Are you just play the original? Do you play the original?
Yeah, I usually play the original. Maybe like a skip to Young Jock's first, or maybe skip over Young Jock's first. Like it really just depends.
Drew and I did a little blend of it. We took the Young Gravy. Oh, Betty.
Yeah, the new
the Rick Astley sample, and we put it over that. I don't know if you've heard it, but we'll send it to you.
No, I haven't. Yeah. Have you played it out?
Yeah, it works.
Yeah, we'll have to send you a pack.
Yeah, please. And I'll send you guys a pack too. Hotel Lobby, Quavo and Takeoff, rest in peace, Takeoff. Big trap record that I really love, and that works really, really well in the clubs over here. El Apagón, the Bad Bunny record, like the house record, works really well, especially if you want to like move through the genres a little bit. Whether it's getting out of house, getting into house, I really like it, and it has such a big energy. I've also been like, I do a lot of like drop switching, so like the build of one song mixed to another drop, and sometimes I'll use that as just the drop. Works really, really well. And then what I mentioned earlier, We Are Young, is just a song that I've been playing a lot just because it's just been fucking working, and bringing back those songs that used to be popular. I really love doing.
Yeah.
All right, we'll play this little segment video real quick, and then we'll talk about traveling with Slacker.
Great Scott! Hey there, Drew and Fuse! It's me, Doc Brown! Quick, jump in the DeLorean! We need to get this episode up to 88 miles per hour! Now, hit the flux capacitor, and let's travel to the future!
Well, we aren't really travel tips, but we're going to talk about travel and you touring with Slacker.
Yeah, for sure.
Explain what Slacker is for the people that are listening might not know, and then touring and traveling with them and what that looks like.
Yeah. So shout out Ross Friedman out here. He founded Slacker, and I think he's like 23 or 24 now, and he started Slacker when he was like 16, and he was throwing these like crazy parties in Boston. They used to be 16 plus parties. And then I didn't join until like 2017. I think it was the first time I started working with him, and just finding venues to do parties at. We were successful. They were growing, and obviously a pretty niche market in Boston. And then once we just started like getting the right relations with the right people and the right venues, there was just a distinct moment where the home run was hit, and it was just like every week, like sold out. Like didn't matter, like it was insane. These kids, they haven't been like jaded by the social structure of like how to go out or anything like that. Like they just wanted to party, and it kept me young. It kept my library very young. You have to like stay on top of a lot of what they like, the TikTok stuff. But then there was a point where we became so successful that we started doing it at other states and other cities. And it was a Thursday party. Last year was the first time we started doing it in other states. We started with like West Virginia, Texas, Texas A&M, some really the giant like D1 football schools kind of thing, where like everything is dedicated to like the schools.
Yeah.
Those went really, really well. Then we started doing like Philly, like more like cities that are like Boston. He did a lot of like in Boulder, Miami. And then now we're going into our full February tour where it's like, I don't know, like 15 dates or something like that, all over the country. And we're just like, he's just replicating it. Last year we got signed to Wasserman. For those who don't know, it's like this like big music entertainment agency that works with Live Nation venues. And so now it's changed from, Ross doing like, having to negotiate the business with these venues, and instead Wasserman, the agency, feeds us only Live Nation venues. So it's like less so clubs and more like music venues. Like, so now Slacker has turned from this party into like a show. And so like he was actually just over here the other day, and we were making specific edits of songs, our intro, like we have like a photo, like a family photo moment. So like there's a specific song and like track that's for that we now pair with visuals because now it's a show.
Right.
But at the same time he's doing the Boston parties too, you know what I mean? So through February he's going to be doing like 20 to 30 shows like across the country all at the same time.
That's how Live Nation and all those got started. They were originally just fucking raves,
Yeah,
100 raves. Yeah,
and it's insane. It's been a really like I said, I've been working with them since 2017, and I didn't know that we were going to do this. He didn't know. We didn't know we were going to get signed. We didn't know we were going to start touring, and now only doing like music venues and clubs are very different. The way they operate, the kind of ways they can accommodate you, the gear, the lights, and so now it being more of a show. It's even increased my presence on stage and my mic work, and like because when they're paying for something like that, they expect something. It's like the same. Yeah, it's the same stage that like Two Friends was at last night. Like I got to make sure like I come with that same kind of energy. And it's been really awesome. I'm super excited for this February tour, and if it goes well, the September, October back to school stuff is going to be tenfold. And it's been really interesting to see like the regional changes, or like the regional preferences rather, of music. Like in Texas A&M, we've done 4 shows there now. We're about to do a 5th one at the end of the month. Like there, obviously I can play country.
Is this like a like a sports arena, football stadium? Or are you doing that big? Or are you doing more like the college?
They're like, so the Texas one, it's a place called Shiner Park. It holds 1,500.
Okay.
And across like multiple levels.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think, like I know like the Pittsburgh one is like 500 to 800. I'm trying to think of the biggest one we're doing, but I think as big as it goes is probably like 15, not more than 2,000. I don't think.
It's just you on stage. Do you have any? Is there any artists that come through, or you're just a guy and you're entertaining everybody? You dancers, like that?
So I'm like the main guy.
Yeah.
And again, as someone who's been playing with them and understands the craft for years, and whatever, but he tries to get like local openers.
Yeah.
So like whatever school we're at, they get shown love and stuff like that. And then and then for some of the markets, we get some like celebrity rappers. Sometimes it's depending on the market. We get like I remember for who did we get for Colorado? We got Abstract.
Okay.
Cool. So you know what I mean? So like we've got pickup lines for like these TikTok DJs that are doing really, really well. We're working on a couple right now that I probably shouldn't be able to say, so I'm not. But we're working on a couple rappers for some of the shows. We've in Boston we've had like Jay Critch, Trap Guy. So when it makes sense and the money's right and everything works out, we're able to get talent to come in as well. Because at this point it's still in a proof of concept phase as far as touring goes.
I was gonna say,
wants to make sure everything works.
I was gonna say, because once it's just like a known thing, they're probably gonna be more jumping on you to just like do a feature versus like having to pay them, right? Because it's a good look for them, especially the TikTok guys, to be in front of that many people.
Ideally, yeah. And again, that's where like this business, because like again, having the Wasserman deal changes so much, because now we're not negotiating with the venues like I was saying, where like we have to maybe do a buyout or hire the ticket person or whatever. Live Nation venues have all of that. You know what I mean? So we just go in and we are the show. So we go in, we do the show, and we leave. You know what I mean? Yeah. So now, as far as our travel crew, it's pretty modest because we don't have that much to really do besides the show itself.
Right. What's on your rider for that? Do you have like a football helmet full of cottage cheese, only green M&Ms?
When I was talking to Ross about it, Ross is obviously, I mean, he's accomplished all of this at such a young age. He's a very, straightforward business guy. And, when you see him, you're like, you know how it is. When you see him, you're like, you're the guy that throws all these parties. Like, what the fuck?
That's the best. That's my favorite.
But that's why it works. He's not out there getting all fucked up and shit like that. Like, he's very much in the background, making sure everything's good. And so when we were at, I remember on our first show, I like met him at the airport, and I'm like, do we like have a ride or something? Like, am I gonna get like food and like drinks and shit? And he's known me for so long. Like, I drink Hennessy, that's like my drink. So he was like, oh yeah, Hennessy's on the rider, and I was like, oh, let's go. And then and he was like, what do you want? He goes, I'm actually making like the rider right now. Like, I'm actually doing the contract stuff right now. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And like, I think there's like there's salad, just so I can like tell my mom that there's salad on it. And then cold cuts. I like fruit snacks a lot. The first thing I said was pizza, but I was like, yo, eating pizza at every show, like, it's just not going to be good. So we took that out, and then we obviously have like the tech rider, which is like an S9 and CDJs.
You need to put like some crispy socks, some fresh socks,
and fresh teas.
Fresh teas. No, I'm serious. I think there was an Aoki.
Yeah, the Aoki rider had that stuff. And then people were giving him a bunch of shit for it. And then he was like, look, I live out of a carry-on bag. I'm in a different city,
right?
Day to day. He's like, if I need a t-shirt, I just want a t-shirt to change into before a show because I got there 10 minutes before. I didn't have time to shower. And it's
right. And that's how a lot of our shows. That's how a lot of our shows are. We're in and out. Like we don't get to really enjoy the city, which is unfortunate. Like for instance, our first weekend for this new tour is Missouri on Friday at Mizzou, and then we go to Colorado on Saturday. And so like for that travel, like we do the show and like we might sleep a few hours and like get breakfast and we're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's true. Like I definitely understand that. Like maybe I should put in some fresh black teas in the rider.
Some socks.
But the thing is, like, I just wear my Crocs everywhere though. Like until it's showtime, like it's Crocs. Like airports, slip them off, put them in the thing. Like
that could be your production name too, the fresh black tea, like a play on the plain white tees. But you're just.
I mean, but then that could be any DJ in the world, right? Just wearing a
totally
black t-shirt.
So I recorded I travel a lot as well, and I am the same as you. Like you fly in, you fly out, you don't get to enjoy the city at all. So when we were in Boston, I went with my wife, and so I was able to enjoy the city and see you play.
Yeah, she was very nice. Yeah, she was really nice.
Well, and you were such a great host. You took us to that spot right before the rock and roll spot.
Rock and roll. Yeah, we love that spot. Again, it's right on the strip, so like that's where a lot of us hang out before pregame or whatever, and they're great over there for sure.
What I'm getting at is what I'm trying to do is either go in a little bit early or take a later flight out and actually somewhat enjoy this traveling that I'm doing. So I did record my first vlog that we're going to drop on here. So I don't know if it's coming out. It'll probably be out by the time this drops, or maybe not. But
yeah, I'm trying to do like more where like if I go in a city, I just like take more gigs there. Like obviously, the more I am out there and able to network, like the better that will work out. But being able to like stay in a city like 2-3 days is way better than being there for like 13 hours. You know what I mean? So I'm definitely working on that.
Well, it's good to see, man. Awesome. You're crushing it, dude. You killed that night. And you're great on the mic, and you're super talented DJ. We're stoked to have you on. But leading into that, you also have your own podcast that talks to DJs and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So let's tell the audience here, if they're not already familiar, all about your podcast and where they can find it and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. So it's called But I Know the DJ, which is kind of a play on what I'm sure most of us have experienced as people trying to skip lines and get it for free or get a discount on somebody or whatever. And then obviously kind of like hopping into the minds of a DJ, right? So it's me, DJ's Fingers, and Cammy V. So we're kind of all in different ages within the Boston DJ career, I guess. All club guys that also do weddings and all kinds of events. It's funny. I mean, it used to be more interview based, and now we kind of when we kind of like rebranded, it's now more conversation. We do like segments like games and stuff. Like our last episode, we did I brought a bunch of like famous hip hop samples where I would like play the sample and then they would have to like guess what the song is and stuff like that. We like to do like musical education, and then but now the guests that we're looking for and trying to get are usually like high profile guys, like celebrities, or we just interviewed Nick Paps, who's a Meek Mill Dream Chasers producer. I was produced some of his like biggest songs on recently. We were just in New York interviewing this guy George Caravias, and he's like this guy. He's 34, owns like 8 clubs in New York. Just this absolute madman of a businessman, and we had him on. That's going to be our newest episode. So just trying to like get really insightful, similar to you, get really insightful conversations that are DJ related and that teach people whether it's music or business and what's going on. And, we have a really, really good time with it. We do we're not as, I guess, kind as you two with each other. Like me and Fingers argue with each other like crazy. And it makes for good content, but like, sometimes.
I like that about yours.
Yeah.
I do love that about your show. Argue about, but I think me and Fuse actually agree on a lot of stuff, and we have terrible humor, which leads into some of these really shitty segment videos. So
it's great. Yeah, and it's great. I mean, we're having a great time. We have a great team behind us. Shout out the guys, the producers, and it's been a really great time, and we enjoy doing it. The conversations are really great, and it helps us stay sharp and on top of what's going on DJ wise to be able to kind of like be those thought leaders and conversation starters and stuff like that. So we appreciate everyone who's been listening and checking us out, and we just hope to continue to grow and have great guests on and whatnot. So it's a great time.
It's a great podcast. You guys should be listening to it. I mean, they talk music, they talk clubs. So all you club guys out there, even wedding guys, but you guys should definitely be in there and listening to their podcast. It's a great podcast.
Thank you so much, guys.
And where can they find that? Anywhere you find podcasts?
Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, so anywhere you can find podcasts. But I know the DJ. We're on YouTube as well under the Dope Entertainment YouTube channel. So that's our producers, and so you can definitely check it out. If you just look up, But I know the DJ. We've had, like I mentioned, Neo, Antonio Brown. We had Angie V, who I mentioned, Vegas DJ. She's awesome.
Shout out Angie V.
Antonio Brown, Heartbreak Mosa. We've had a bunch of different guys. So if you just look up them, podcast interviews, stuff like that, they should be able to pop up as well. And definitely check out those. Obviously, the celebrity interviews are a great time as well.
I love that. Well, we want to wrap this episode up. We know you got to bounce, and the way we like to do it is the sauce. We call it the sauce, and it's just give us that final takeaway. What do you tell the young DJs? What have you learned over the years? What's some great advice that you got for people? But we got a segment video.
Yeah, we're gonna play the segment, and then we'll do it.
The name is Bootsy, baby, and this shout out goes out to Drew and Fuse, all the way from Cincinnati to the LBC Bobble. Yeah, I was told you guys are quite the chefs, and you got a delicious sauce that you cook up. Ooh! And it drips that swagoo and breaks down the recipe. Yeah, and you giving up the P, cause it's funky. As in good, that is, finger funkin' good. On the one by the power of the one. Yeah, without that, there is none. So get yours and be in tune with the one that loves you. Get it, baby.
Is that the real?
That's
Bootsy
real
Collins?
Bootsy. Yeah, that's really Bootsy.
Wow, that was the best one. Oh wow, that's fire. Oh, that is so sick.
The recipe, awesome. break down the recipe, Bobble. Give it down to him.
Oh my god, I love that. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing, and when I talk to like my young guys too, is like I think just like really letting go of the ego, And I mentioned it earlier, like we are all the best. We all are God's gift to earth. We all touch all these people, hundreds and thousands of people with our musical sex and everything. And it's great, but like it's I think being kind to everybody, making sure you're available to help, and at the end of the day, everything of like every big DJ, there is a whole mess of team of people throughout their journey that gave them a look, that gave them this chance, that gave them advice. So like there's no way anyone's done this on their own completely, like without talking to anybody, you know what I mean? So I think less of the I did this, I'm this, and more of like being grateful to people, being thankful to people, let the ego go, because like people can see right through it. And there's never a time where I can think that someone is going to be getting a slap on the wrist or anything like that for thanking people and being grateful and being mindful of the people that have helped them along the way. I see some people that I'm just like, yo, we know what it is. We're all in the same industry. You know what I mean? I can kind of see right through what you're saying and everything. And I'm losing respect for that. You know what I mean? So, while you should still be confident, own your sets. Like when when you are on, that is your set, and own it for sure, and make sure that people know that, like what we said earlier, like you're in my house now, this is my world. But I think generally speaking, to be able to go far, I think letting go of that ego, and you know, be grateful, man. Like there's too much hate in this world. Everyone needs to be like more grateful and thank the people around them. So that's definitely what I would love people to take away.
I love that, and that's what we're doing the podcast for, is to give back. And it's also one of the things we just ran into each other at the Harvest of Sound in Boston, and I was up on a panel, and one of the things I said was, when I was coming up, everyone told me I couldn't do this and that you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. But if there were actually people that just were like, no, you can do this, and like helped you out, we would all be farther along in life. So yeah, help out the young people, help out yourselves, help out your fellow DJ, and let's just, you know, make this a dope community.
100%. Absolutely. And I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. This was a ton of fun.
Oh, thank you. We appreciate you for being on and chatting and being down to earth. And, you know, we appreciate all that. So before we go, will you just hit everybody where they can follow you and find you?
Yeah, I forgot about that part. So if you can follow me at Gimme Snax on Instagram, so it's GIMMESNAX. Same thing as Twitter, same thing as TikTok. I just post a lot of like my live clips and stuff, like shit that I'm doing on TikTok and stuff like that. If you're into that, follow the podcast on Instagram at But I Know the DJ, all in English, if I'm gonna spell it anyway, BUTIKNOWTHEDJ. And then you can find us on YouTube as well, anywhere you find podcasts. We'd love to hear what you think of us. You know, leave comments, feedback. You know, we'd love to hear from you. And again, thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks, you.
man.
We appreciate it. And that's pretty much going to wrap up today. So thank you guys for listening. Make sure you're rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, peace out. See ya.
Peace.